So last week we had, Jason Gilbert with us, almost
Mm,
2 weeks back. I don't know
nice,
if you
nice.
know
Wow,
him.
I'm in the presence of royalty here. Then Jason's a very talented guy.
Yeah, yeah, he's a very amazing guy. So the question, came up that why do we need a bot? Whenever you were defining a use case, the first question that we should think is he told was that do you need a bot for this? That is how you
Mm,
should think about it. And I would like to know your views on this. That whenever we are defining a use case, you're thinking of a use case, it could be better off that it could be done via an app. But
mm,
why do we need a voice interface for it, or why do we need a chat assistant for it? That is
mm.
my question.
Yeah, 100%. Jason is 100% right. I think that, we can get very tied up and very caught up in the kind of shiny new object syndrome and think that everything needs to be kind of botanized. Is that a
Mhm.
word?
Right.
Botanized,
Yeah.
voicinized, or
from
whatever.
from now on.
Yeah, from now on, botanized. That's the
Yeah.
word. Yeah, but that's just the reality of people getting hooked up on new technologies. A lot of the exploration that's been done, a lot of the difficulty that some brands have when they want to explore this kind of area is finding a valid use case, finding something that makes more sense to do via a voice assistant and more sense to do via a chatbot than anything else. And so there's different ways that you can prioritize use cases and figure out and validate, whether a conversational experience would provide more value. The few obvious ones really is, does it allow people to do something quicker? You know, just because you can do it in a conversation experience doesn't really mean that you should necessarily. And so we're in the process of testing and have tested over the last few months experiences where, because of the limitations of the technology, we need to really just be able to ask open questions for this particular
Hmm.
use case and take an open answer and then figure out where we should put people from then on. It's
Right.
really challenging with some of the technologies, and we're having real trouble doing that. In order to do that, to get around it, we need to ask a string of questions, one question after another, after another, after another, after another.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time the user's answered all those things, because audio is linear and you need to just stop and listen to the audio, you can't do anything until it's finished and then you can
Right.
answer. So
Right.
audio is linear, whereas a screen you can just skip through it, and we're really quick
Mm-hmm.
at digesting visual information. And so
Yeah.
if it's things like that, it might be quicker for a drop down list and for people to just go down a form and click, 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 click. A little
Mm-hmm.
bit like those kind of like either the medical insurance forms, have you ever had diabetes? Have you got asthma? Have you, all like most people just go down and go, no, 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 no. It's a lot quicker to just do that on a form
Right.
or on an online experience than it is to just sit and listen to a voice assistant say, have you ever had asthma? Yes or no. You could have filled the whole form up by the time that's happened. Um, and so you do need to be selective. So one is, will it make something quicker? Right. If you
Right.
look at Spotify, if you look at Pandora, if you look at BBC, if you look at most of the brands that have put voice activity or voice activations into their apps, it's because to get to something, it'll take a hell of a lot longer to do. To go from one song playing on Spotify,
Mm-hmm.
minimize that screen, go to the search
Right.
bar, type in a search, listen, look at the results, click on the result,
Right.
browse the results, press play. All that stuff is taking a lot longer than it would be to say, hey, Spotify, play some songs by the Blackbirds.
Exactly.
Far quicker. Other times, there may be opportunities whereby the user and their environment and their context lends itself better to a conversational experience over and above a web or a screen-based experience. And so if you're driving, not
Mm-hmm.
really going to be using your mobile if you want to
Right.
stand a decent chance of getting to your destination without crashing and dying.
Exactly.
Uh, and so a voice experience in that instance makes perfect sense. If you're in the kitchen, if you're around the house, most of the time, yeah, people have their phones on them when they're in the house. But
Mm-hmm.
still, there's innate friction involved in the actual device itself. If I want to do anything on my phone, I've first of all got to grab it out of my pocket, and I've then got to unlock it, and I've then got to do my swiping and go to my app. By the time I've done that, I've already taken a number of steps because
Right.
there's friction inherently built into the device unless I use my voice. And so quite often, a voice experience can provide a more frictionless experience because
Mm-hmm.
if with ambient computing, if you've got smart speakers dotted around, there's a voice assistant on your phone, the access to it is a lot easier, and the context, and it opens up new environments, essentially new contexts for people to engage with. If I'm getting ready, if I'm in the bedroom getting ready, I was going to say I'll dry my hair there, but that doesn't really take too long. Stick it out the window for 30 seconds and it's bone dry. But if I'm in the bedroom getting ready or whatever like that, I'm not going to just stop and get my phone out. If I just want to add something to my to-do list, I want to figure out what my first appointment is or whatever.
Right.
Now with Zoom on Google Assistant, if I want to just dive into my first call without needing to bother, I can just do that with my voice because it's easier for me, it's quicker for me, less friction for me. And so those are the times, those are the lenses that we kind of will need to apply. Or at the same time, with voice specifically, sometimes an audio experience is actually quite a pleasant experience. Some of the more lean-in experiences are quite a pleasant experiences, and the medium itself provides space for new types of activity, new types of interactions. Think about some of the interactive stories on Alexa. I know they've been rinsed to bits, but I mean they're still quite a novel, and especially if you've got kids and stuff like that, they're quite an interesting format. Being able to just sit around and do other things, playing with his train set or whatever, whilst you're interacting with an interactive story on the background. Provides a new type of interaction. So there's always the option to have find and break into new spaces, but on a practical level, if it's quicker, if it's less friction, if it's easier for the user, then do it.
Great, perfect. So recently,
I was going to say there's nothing wrong, by the way, as well. Some brands are experimenting with conversational AI because it's new and it is the shiny new object factor. But there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with exploring the new. That's exactly what you should be doing: exploring the new technology, figuring out where opportunities might be, experimenting and learning and things like that. That's definitely what you don't have to come into this knowing that this is going to make things quicker and easier. You just need to come in there thinking, do we have something here? Is there something we could experiment with? And so I would definitely advise anyone who's considering it, you don't have to look for a silver bullet or a golden bullet. It's perfectly fine at this stage in the technology to do things for exploratory purposes, to do things just to research and see what the technology is about, learn about it, upskill, things like that. That's perfectly acceptable. You don't have to go in there kind of trying to, conquer the world on day one.
Perfect.